So again, welcome everybody. This is our weekly Zoom meeting of Israelis and Palestinians for peace. For those who came not through the Facebook group, just so you know, we have a big Facebook group with more than 4,000 people. The most active peace group on Facebook. If you count the number of messages, posts, and comments going on there on a daily basis, it's the most active one on Facebook. And we are trying to keep it as peaceful as possible, but I can tell you that a lot of time the discussion is getting heated, and only when we come here and we see people face to face, we are able to be a lot more peaceful and respectful to each other. So I really hope that more people will come to these events, to these Zoom events. We are also having a weekly discussion on an application called Clubhouse, which is similar to Zoom, but with no video. So it's only audio with pictures of the people. So you are welcome to join this discussion if it works for you on Sunday evening. Israel time. So our guest speaker tonight is Boris Gorelik, Dr. Boris Gorelik, who is the host of a co-editor and a host of a weekly podcast about the Middle East. It's called השבוע במזרח התיכון. It's in Hebrew. This week in the Middle East. And I wanted Boris to come and share with us about this initiative, but also to talk about some of the learnings and some of the insight that he has from the many episodes with a lot of experts that he interviews in his podcast. So again, not everything is purely about Israel-Palestine, but Middle East issues that are related. So hello, Boris.
Hi.
And if you can introduce yourself, why you started this podcast, and a little bit about the podcast.
So thank you very much for having me in your very interesting group. Yes, my name is Boris Gorelik. I have no I'm a doctor, but I'm a doctor in computational chemistry. I have no formal education in political sciences or Middle East. And I got to start this podcast just by accident. So the thing is that I used to work for a company that holds a lot of blogs. I used to blog about professional stuff. For 10 or 15 years, I work as a data scientist. And at some point, I decided to start a podcast. And the idea was to start a podcast about management and career development and stuff like that. But before starting the podcast, I wanted to do some intelligence, to collect some intelligence and to learn from good podcasts and from bad podcasts. And one thing that I really wanted to hear is a podcast about the Middle East, because I live here. I'm fascinated about this region. I love this region. I love all the cultures that surround me. But there was no podcast about the Middle East, like none. There were some attempts to create a podcast, but all of them were abandoned. And it was super strange for me. And at the same time, I studied Arabic, and my Arabic teacher sent me a copy of a newsletter email newsletter written by Dr. Yaron Friedman from the Haifa University. And this newsletter title is This Week in the Middle East. It's a Hebrew newsletter. And in it, Yaron, every week, he summarizes the main activities and the main events in the Middle East, those that are not discussed in the Hebrew media. Because as you know, I think maybe 98% of the Israeli Jews don't read Arabic. So they need someone to mediate for them. And I mean, maybe this is one of our problem in this region, because we don't understand the language of our neighbors, but it's a little bit different topic. So at this point I said, wow, this is exactly what I need. I want to take this format of a weekly newsletter and translate it into a podcast, but I have no knowledge about it. So I contacted Yaron and I told him, you do your research every week anyhow. Let's talk every weekend and record an episode, and we will have we might double your audience, so just something like that. And that's what we did initially. So initially it was me and Yaron, and the format is a little bit different from his newsletter. It's we take one topic and we discuss it, and we devote some time to discuss it. We decided that the optimal time is half an hour, which allows for a relatively serious discussion, but not too long, because people are busy. And at some point we decided to add more experts in more narrow fields. So we have an expert in Iranian affairs, who is also an expert in Russian affairs. So it's a very interesting point of view. It's Alex Greenberg. We had an expert in Turkish affairs, Dr. Hayatan Cohen Yanarojak, and Mor Shapira is also a very prominent Turkish expert. We have an expert who performed a study about the Palestinian refugee problem, Adi Schwartz, and many more. So every week we publish an episode. And by the way, all of you who understand Hebrew, please just Google for This Week in the Middle East, Hashavot BaMizrach HaTichon. Just subscribe both for the newsletter and the podcast, and you will get very, very high quality content. So yeah, like I said, we do not concentrate on the Palestinian, like on Palestine or Palestine Jordan, but we try to cover the entire Middle East, and from time to time we cover like wider affairs such as the water crisis or the conflict between Egypt and Ethiopia, despite the fact that Ethiopia isn't technically in the Middle East. Yeah, so this is our podcast. And what was your question, Mo?
So, if you can tell us again, first, I don't know if you mentioned how long have you been doing it, this weekly podcast?
So it's now, I think, 15 months, something like that, almost 1 year and a half. We have already scheduled interviews for 3 more months. So if you subscribe today, you have like a guaranteed 3 more months of high quality content. And it has been a very interesting challenge for me, because I mean, it's a challenge and a treat, both, because on one hand, it's not that easy to devote 2 hours of your busy day to record an interview, edit it, and publish it. On the other hand, I feel so lucky to spend 1 hour every week with a very knowledgeable and opinionated person, several people, and I learn a lot of I learn a lot from these conversations, and I hear a lot of good feedback from our listeners, which is also very motivating. We now have between 800 and 1,000 listeners for every episode, which is a very nice number for us.
Yeah, how many?
It depends, but 800, between 800 and 1,000 listeners.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, can you give us some examples? Who are the people that you interview? the subjects like the 2-3 last podcast that we can get
So half an hour ago, I published a podcast, an episode with Yaron Friedman, and we talked about this contrast between the peace activities that we witnessed this week, this Negev convention, and our president visiting Jordan on one hand, and those three terrorist attacks on the other hand. We had several, I think we had 4 different episodes devoted to the effects of the Russian-Ukrainian war on the Middle East from different aspects. And for the International Women's Day, we had a series of episodes about women's rights in Iran, in Turkey, and divorced women in Islam. So that's all the recent ones. And topics that are directly related to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I think the biggest one that we covered was 3 episodes about the refugee problem with Adi Schwartz. Adi Schwartz is the co-author of a book called, in English, it's called War of Return. It has been translated to English. And we covered the story pretty extensively. Sometimes we cover topics that are not related to the news, but rather to deep cultural or religious topics, such as the origin of Islam, the origin of the division between the Sunni and the Shia. And the idea is that in order to have an intelligent conversation between people about processes that we witnessed here and there and everywhere, we need not only to understand what happens today, but also how we got here. So that's why we had several episodes devoted to the origins of Islam and the Quran, and the history of Shiite movement and how we got here.
So, today we're going to talk a lot about what happened in Israel just in the last 11 days or what, when we had the 3 terrorist attacks and such. And again, I don't want to focus on what's in the news. Like you said, I don't want to focus on what is already in the news, but really talk about what people feel, what people are concerned with, and how can we take things into perspective, I would say. So related to that, I see that one of the episodes that you had was called Israel in the Eye of the Arabic Society.
Yes.
Do you remember, the key insights from that interview? Then maybe you can share it with us here.
Yeah. So this interview was recorded with Dr. Anan Wahabi. He is an Israeli Druze, and actually it was the second interview that we recorded. The first one was dedicated to the history of Druze and their unique position in the Middle East and in Israel. He is the head of the Center of the Druze Heritage in Israel, so he is very knowledgeable about that. And after that, we decided to expand this interview to another episode devoted to other Arabic-speaking communities in Israel. And so we talked about the different attitudes of different communities, Arabic-speaking communities, towards the state of Israel, and the processes that are happening since 1948 until today. Something that is called Israelization. Sometimes it's called, like, it's used as a derogatory word, but sometimes it's used as a form of normalization of people within the country. And yeah, this is the digest of this topic. And by the way, when you said that it is important to have a dialogue, I just recall that if you take a look at the list of people who participated in my podcast, you will not see anyone outside of Israel, any like Arabic scholar or Arabic activist outside of Israel. And it's not that I didn't try. I try very hard to find someone who studies Israel from the Arabic perspective. I contacted several scholars in Egypt, in Jordan, in United States, but who are originally from one of the Arabic neighbors. I tried to contact different people who are actively speaking on Twitter about the matter of normalization between Israel and the Arabic world. And for some reason, the only reaction that I see two types of reaction. One is just completely ignoring me, and another is a polite refusal. So it's very frustrating. And if you know someone who wants to talk to me on the record about how is Israel perceived from Palestine or from Egypt, Jordan, any Arabic country, I would love to interview
them. So by the way, if people have questions for Boris, please feel free to raise your virtual hand. Until then, I will continue to ask questions. I see Joseph has a question. So Joseph, go ahead.
Oh, hi, Boris.
Hello.
First, I didn't get the name of your podcast. If you can put it in the chat.
I did put the link to it in the chat if you want to take a look.
The name is in Hebrew, Hashavua B'Mizrach HaTichon. It's translated as This Week in the Middle East. And I will put another link just for the convenience. Yeah. And second?
Okay. Really first,
yeah.
I have been following Israeli media ever since I was a child. And I read Israeli papers, Haaretz and other papers, and I watch Israeli news, and I never, ever, I may be wrong, but I never, ever seen a discussion that is about the wisdom of having a Jewish state. It never comes up. There's never an anti-Zionist, honest discussion ever come up. It's just as if we have to start with the wisdom that a Jewish state is the right thing to do, that it's good for Jews, that we accept the term, the contradictory term, Jewish democracy as if it is real. We accept we expect Arabs and Palestinians to accept the notion of a Jewish state as if it is came from nature and we have to comply with. Never see a discussion about the wisdom of Zionism. Is it good for the Jews? Is it good for peace? Is it fulfilling the promises that it was made out to fulfill? Never seen that. So my question is, do you have such discussions on your podcast? And if not, why not?
I mean, it's necessary. I didn't think of it. So as far as I know, the only group that are Jews and openly anti-Zionists are like the Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox, and they just don't go to the television. We had an Knesset speaker Avram Burg, who at some point declared that he is, I think he says about himself that he is post-Zionist, maybe this is, and he was on the media quite a lot. Yeah, it's an interesting question. If you know someone who can talk about it, but the thing is that we try not
I do.
Yeah, so the thing is that we try not to, we try to bring facts and research and not as much opinions. So in this case, for example, that's why we feel that this is the only way that we can keep the podcast neutral and just to bring the information and not opinions. But if you know somebody who can talk about it, let's just move it to the private conversation, and we'll try to see if it fits us. Like
I would be happy to do it because I have a lot to say about that, and I think that keeping the podcast neutral to me is not interesting. You know, we want to have honest opinions, and running away from opinion to me is not the thing to do.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's for sure. Running away from opinions is not the way. It just, the thing is that whether we keep opinions, whether this platform is the good platform. In the chat, in the Zoom chat, I wrote my email address. So please contact me, and we will talk about it for sure.
Thank you. So again, if more people have questions, until then, I would like to ask you, Boris, you mentioned that just today you recorded an episode about the Negev Peace Initiative or Negev Summit. Let's not call it the Peace Initiative, but the Negev Summit and the terrorist attacks and if there's any relationship and such. So any insights from that discussion that you can share with us here?
Well, the insight is pretty pessimistic one, at least for me and for Yaron. We had the complete agreement on that. I mean, it's just a matter of personal feeling. Is that in the beginning I was very optimistic and very enthusiastic about the continuance of this peace process that happens here with this Abrahamic Accords thing, and then this contrast of just people killing other people just like that. And so Yaron served a little bit the reaction of the major news outlets in the Arab-speaking news outlets to this meeting. And the major reaction is either some outlets just ignored it, and others were very critical about it. And then, yeah, we just talked about how sad it was that we are so pessimistic about the future.
Okay. And again, maybe the last questions I have would be, you said that you had a few episodes about the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war on Israel and the Middle East. Any interesting insight from there? Do you think it will impact the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in any way, or other elements that are related to Israel?
So again, I'm not an expert in any form, right? So just the things that I hear, but I think that the notion is that this war has two major effects on the politics of the Middle East. One is that the West, like in parentheses, the West has fewer attention span for Iran, and that's why the nuclear deal might be signed earlier and on worse conditions for the West with Iran, and which will make Iran stronger and will make it easier for Iran to interfere with politics of its neighbors, including us. This is one arm, and the second arm is the fact that Ukraine and Russia are huge exporters of wheat. And I don't remember the numbers, but I think it's like around 80% of the wheat export in Egypt is from Russia or Ukraine, and the similar numbers are for Lebanon and Jordan, and the prices are already rising in countries that even before that were poor countries and facing huge economical crisis. So the fear is that this crisis will bring a lot of instability, political and social instability. And as we know, when there is instability, there is a lot of violence, and violence isn't good for anybody. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And again, before we move on to our discussion, Boris, any other interesting information that people interested in Israel-Palestine peace would be interested to learn, to know something from your podcasts?
I don't know. I mean, if everybody, I urge everybody to study about this region. Everybody who is interested. I mean, obviously, everybody who lives here or has relatives here, they need to study, and they need to study the narratives of both sides. Except for the fact that I don't like the term narrative that much, because I don't know. It feels like this post-truth era, but not the narrative, but the point of view of all the sides that are involved here. It's not only two sides, by the way. We have Jews and we have Arabs, and within Arabs we have several point of views, and within Jews we have a lot of point of views. And as long as we are aware about the complexity of the discussion, and as long as we are aware of the fact that actual people live here, and actual people try to live their lives and have their own pains and their own suffering, it will be easier for all of us, even if we don't agree on stuff.
Thank you. So just as a mean of, again, as Joseph gave his opinion, I would like to also share my opinion. And I want to say that first, I listened to many of your episodes, and I learned from it, and I like it, and I think it's insightful. I recommend to everybody to listen to it. I want to suggest that the Israeli-Palestinian topic is not discussed enough, to the point that I'm considering competing with you and having an episode of myself about the Israeli-Palestinian topic. I think for Israelis, this issue is A, not discussed enough, B, it's critical. Because if we are able to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, we will have a total different dynamic with even with the countries that we already have peace, meaning Egypt and Jordan and others, UAE, etc. But also we will have certainly will have peace with Saudi Arabia and many other countries that we don't have peace with today. So I think avoiding this issue is like the huge elephant that is in the room and must be discussed, I would say, if not every week, at least every second week. That's my opinion.
And by the way, it's not, I mean, I helped in very small way, but today there are two more podcasts dedicated to the Middle East. One of them is on a longer hiatus. Another one is pretty active till today. And it's a good thing. And if you start your podcast about specific podcast about the Palestinian-Israeli relationships, it will be great. I will be glad to help you if you need any help. So
I would love to. I'll talk to you about it. Assad, yes.
Again, everyone, I agree with you. I think the most important, the relationship between the neighbors more than first to go to the Arab countries, to go to Saudi Arabia or to the United Emirates or to go to Egypt. I think the most important is to discuss, to make a dialogue and discussion with your neighbor, how we could live together and how we could found a solution for our conflict, how we could meet, like we are both sides, like we have before we was like a family, we was together, like we have social work together, we go to visiting each others, and now, you know, there is a wall, and the wall between, actually the wall, it's not just the wall, the physical wall, there is a wall between in our arms. This is the wall in our heart, and like the media, lots of media from both sides, and in my experience, it's hard to find people, like you could make peace with the government of Emirat or the government of Egypt, but with the people it's hard, so hard, and it's connect to our status, to our position in the ground between in the conflict between Palestinian and Israeli, what's going there. I think the key is us together first, like what you said. If we solve our problems and found solution, how we could live together as a neighbor, then I think will be the doors open to the whole Middle East and actually Africa or anywhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. I totally agree. So with that, I would like to invite everybody whenever you want to share your feelings about what's happening. You know, indeed, on the one hand, there is this summit in the Negev. There was this summit in the Negev. And people may have their opinion about that. And on the other hand, 3 terror attacks that are impacting everybody. I think too much, by the way, but my opinion is not the one that decided that is that important. So if people are, you know, have different feelings about it, please share with us. What do you feel? What if you have questions to the Palestinian side? If Palestinians have questions to the Israeli side, feel free to ask. So who wants to go first? Yes, David. Just unmute, please. On the left side, yeah? Left bottom side, open your microphone.
There we go.
Yeah.
Here's a stupid question for the group. Has anybody ever heard someone from Hamas or Hezbollah say they want to live in peace with Israel? On the record or off the record? Where are all the mavens here?
Okay.
So actually, I heard an analysis by an Israeli scholar. I'm not sure that I can mention her name right now, but said that according to her analysis of the rhetorics, they might be able to say that at some point in the far future. This is yeah.
Far future. Wow, that's
David, I
great.
want to share with you my observations, okay? So Hamas indeed, started as a very extreme Islamic organization that wants to have basically Palestine from the river to the sea. And they, by the way, they don't want to kill the Jews as most Jews believe, but they want to have an Islamic state from the river to the sea where Jews potentially could live in there. That's their official agenda from the beginning. However, they since then, we are talking now about 20-something years since their establishment, and since they took control in 2006, it's been, 18 years, 16 years. They actually realized their limitation. So I think today there are more mature organizations. They have evolved, and it's not just me thinking that. The experts in this country, like Gershon Baskin and others that I read about their opinions, think that too. They have evolved, okay, and they realized that they are not going to kick the Jews out of this country. They know that. They are not that stupid. They are not going to kick out the Jews out of this country, and they are not going to get, to basically conquer Haifa, Beersheba, and Tel Aviv. They are not. They know that. So since 2017, and actually it started before, since 2014, when there were peace discussions, negotiation under Kerry Obama administration with Mahmoud Abbas. Since then, Hamas actually agreed to be a part of these discussions. And actually, when they agreed to be a part of this discussion and they had an agreement with Mahmoud Abbas about it, this was the excuse for Bibi to cancel the negotiation with Abbas. But really, since 2017, they officially announced that they are willing to have an agreement based on 67 lines. They did not claim this is their end goal, this is what they hoped for, but they agreed to have this agreement. And I believe, again, there is one side that, one rhetoric that is, saying we want from the river to the sea, we come back from those places and we want to go back there. But on the other hand, again, there is this realizations of their limitation. By the way, the same type of process went the PLO. Okay, the PLO also started from a point where they want to liberate from the river to the sea. And at one point they realized that it's not going to happen. And they realized Israel is a power country, it's a nuclear power country, very strong military. They will not be able to kick us out. And their approach was, okay, let's go for the 67 lines. And this is the Arab League initiative, Arab Peace Initiative by the Arab League that the Palestinian Authority supports. And today also Hamas supports it. By the way, in last February 2021, there was a letter signed by both Mahmoud Abbas and Anwar and Sinwar, Ania Sinwar from the leader of Hamas, sent to Biden saying, we want you to actually know that we support the two-state solution based on 67 lines. Now, we can always look at other comments made by Hamas that says, we're going to fight Israel until whatever. But my observation is, if we would sign an agreement with them, they will actually have interest to keep it. They will not have interest to keep fighting, because every fight they always lose. They know that. There is no hope for them to actually win a war against us. They know that. So that's my observation. If other people want to share their observation, feel free.
I can add a few remarks because the world, and we are not different, is built on interests. And once you come to an agreement that is built on interest, it can work. And we need to try. Israel has, even if we don't say it officially, Israel has lots of connections with the Hamas, with the leadership of the Hamas. Israel for a long time used to allow the Qatari envoy to transfer money to Gaza in order that the area will be quiet. Israel agreed a few years ago, when Lieberman was defense minister, to build a new seaport in Gaza. So we need to come to an agreement. I don't like the Hamas, you don't like the Hamas. Nobody has to like the Hamas. We have to find a way, if there is a way, or at least to try to come to some kind of agreement, and to build something that every side can be satisfied, or feels that his interests are fulfilled, at least as in a compromise, once you know that you can't achieve everything you want. And I'm sure, yes, you are right when you said that nobody hears Hamas saying that he's willing to live in peace with Israel. Why should they say it? There is no reason for them to say it. I wish they say it, but we have to try to make them happy with some kind of agreement that they will say, this is good for us. As long as we don't try, so nothing will happen.
Thank you. Jorun.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm outside walking my dog in the snow. I don't want to be the besserwisser from outside, but I just feel that I would like to turn the question around a bit. And isn't there a way that the Israelis are treating every man of the Palestinians so that they actually make more of them becoming enemies? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So instead of, you have a group of Hamas, you have a group of Hezbollah, even IS perhaps, but the way the Palestinians, the normal sort of innocent Palestinians, if you can say it that way, are treated, can push them into the groups, even though they didn't want to be there in the first place.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Toshu.
I also heard the Hamas say that this is just a stepping stone, that they're not giving up the dream of river to the sea, but they will make peace with Israel so that they could have time to strengthen and build themselves up and then continue towards their end goal, which is an Islamic country from river to sea. So how do you know which proclamations to believe?
No, I believe that. I believe that, they have this, this dream. And I believe that Israel will have to remain very strong and very firm regardless. I think that if we have a peace agreement, the likelihood of them striking again against us after they signed the peace agreement with us, okay? Their leadership signed the peace agreement with us. The likelihood of them to now send again rockets towards Israel is lower than it is today. Today, they have basically nothing to lose from their perspective. If they have this agreement, I think they have more to lose. And so I'm not worried about this so much. Of course, what everybody is worried is if we have rockets coming from the West Bank. Okay, now from the West Bank, again, I think the process should be very, very gradual. When I'm saying if we are going to have peace agreement with the Palestinian, it's not going to be like we had in Gaza. Okay, we signed the agreement. In Gaza, of course, we didn't sign anything, but we now move all the forces out and good luck and do whatever you want. No, I think it should be a very gradual process that is built on, milestones that are achieved, milestones of collaboration, milestones of trust building, and only then, we move. And the last thing in this process would be to remove the military out. First, we will remove certain settlements out. And we will see the structure. We will want to have a democracy on their side and see what's happening in the election there, etc. I also believe that any peace agreement should be ratified by referendum. And by the way, the PA says so as well, that if we have a peace agreement, it will have to be ratified by referendum. Now, if the majority of Palestinians will vote for such a peace agreement in a referendum, it's very different than, Mahmoud Abbas signing a paper. So then they are really more committed to this agreement. So that's my opinion about it.
Thank you for that.
I hope it makes sense to you.
Can I comment more? Or is
Azam, yes. Although you didn't raise hand, but always happy.
If there's somebody before me, I take it.
Well.
No. If there's somebody before me, I speak later. I don't want to take anybody's turn.
No, but we are doing one Israeli, one Palestinian. So you are next in terms of that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. No, I enjoyed what you're saying, and I was listening carefully and to the questions. I think this is very, very sensitive issue, very important issue, and such discussions should be really very deep and not just shallow on the surface. I can tell you most Palestinians dream of all of Palestine. It's no secret. It's not only Hamas. I talk to Fatah. I'm not Fatah. I'm not Hamas. I'm independent. But I talk to many Fatah people. They still dream about the whole of Palestine. But we have also Jews who look at Eretz Israel. I don't know, maybe beyond even Palestine, Jordan and outside Palestine. The issue is one day, you hear me, yes? I'm heard?
Yes.
Okay.
Listen.
I think one day we have to sign an agreement. And signing agreements cuts long distances short. Once an agreement is signed, people start becoming more hopeful, more optimistic, and maybe even over-optimistic, like what we have seen in joint patrols, Israeli and Palestinian soldiers in the same car after Oslo, and young Palestinian children in Ramallah throwing roses on them. That was, I can't really forget such a scene. I've seen it. So, if you keep, not you, I mean, if we keep spreading, if Palestinians and Israelis keep spreading despair and loss of hope and enmity increases, and then it will be ripe for the extremists to do their work. Because this is what the extremists on both sides, which I think on both sides are not the majority. Even though I see the discussions in this group and in many other groups on the Palestinian side and on the Israeli side. You listen to the Palestinians in Palestinian groups say, talking to each other, hey, the Israelis will never accept to have peace, etc. They just say this, that they don't want this. And again, yes, we have people like Hamas who might even declare that they might accept the Palestinian, they will accept the Palestinian state, yeah, on 1967. But as our colleague said, this is just to re-energize so that they will take the whole of Palestine. If they can take it, maybe they will do it. And maybe also on the Israeli side, there are Israelis or Jews who, if they would like, even Netanyahu, or I don't know whom, and many extremists would like to hold the whole of Palestine, and maybe they want to kick. We heard some extremists, I think it was in the parliament, a Jewish person who said, you know, should have, you know, the job of killing all the Palestinians should have done. I don't, you know him, the guy who said maybe this task should have been done, you know, finishing all the Palestinians instead of finishing some. But we have on both sides, we have on both sides extremists who don't accept the other, who would jump on any opportunity to finish the other or expel the other, or do ethnic cleansing if they would have the opportunity. But here comes our role to widen our groups, to widen our influences, to spread the hope, to spread acceptance and tolerance of the other, even if we have differences, whether in narratives or history or religion or race or whatever. It's time for those who care about humanity before anything else, really, before religion. I personally, I tell you, I care about humanity before religion and race and nationality and everything. Before my Arabism and Palestinianism and Islamism, I'm a human being, and I care about you not to be injured or shot or harmed or insulted because you're a human at the end of the day. And this enmity should end, and we should move people to think human instead of we and you. And help me, how can I score against you in discussions, and how can I get more of your land? At the end of the day, never mind who rules this whole land, really. You know, I don't want to just speak this bad word now, buck or luck, or, you know, the issue is, if we want democracy in this land, I don't care really who rules, who gives me a ticket if I cross a red light traffic, yeah? Whether he's a Jew or a Muslim or an atheist. If I cross and I got a ticket, it's fair. Okay, it's fair. But don't give me a ticket because I'm Palestinian, or because I'm Muslim, or because I'm a Jew, yeah? Or because I'm a gay, or because whatever, you know? This is the issue. If we aim at a region where we will have democracy, equality, human rights, tolerance, all colors of politics and race and religion, yeah? And we should aim at this, whether one state or two states. Maybe two states now is more realistic, but even in two states, we want a region where we can even do tourism, and we don't look at each other in enmity. And we can do all kinds of cooperation. You know, our workers work in your advanced economy, and we benefit from this. And you benefit from lower wage workers. The huge benefits, economic, all kinds of benefits. And this is the thing that we should spread, that people look on the benefits and not just keep stuck to this bloody history and bloody religion and bloody everything, you know, and nationality. The hell, I saw my friend wearing Darwin's shirt. Yeah, I'm a fan of Darwin, and I wrote a book. Half of it is on Darwin's theory, and the other half is on the Big Bang. Maybe we should go back to Darwin's theory, and see how even before we are humans, we were living creatures. You know, we were moving from Africa without borders, without fires, without everything. Maybe, you know, we have to really to think human and human rights. And
you know, one of the things that people miss about Darwin, they think the strong will survive, but really what Darwin said was not the strong will survive, but the one who can adapt will survive.
Adapt, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you, Hazem.
The ones that can work together in the team.
Joseph, you're next.
So I would like to respond to David's question. He asked, did anyone hear anybody from Hamas expressing his desire to make peace with Israel? And I hear those questions, that question a lot. The problem is with the underlying assumption in that question. And that is that Israelis and Palestinians are different people and that they need to be separated. And they are different, even though they live together, they need to be separated. And that is the essence of the underlying mistake that was brought up by Zionism. Zionism started this whole thing by claiming that Jews need to have their own state, and Jews are different people, and they need to be isolated and insulated from other people and from Palestinians. This is going back to my initial question to Boris. Was there ever a discussion regarding that underlying assumption that Zionism imposed on us, which is that we need to be separated? If you look at it, that underlying assumption created 72 years of constant war, and that assumption has never been visited. We are assuming.
Joseph, I want to ask you then, if you are, it seems like supporting, a one-state solution, why do you talk about confederation in which indeed we still have two nationalities, Jews and Arabs in that?
Good question, because I am practical. I understand that there is a core of Israelis and a core of Palestinians who will not agree to dismantle their government. I believe that a common government, a secular government for everyone, without the Israeli government, without the Palestinian government, is the best solution. But I'm also practical, and I understand that there is a strong core of Israelis and Palestinians who will not agree, who do not trust each other, who will not agree to dismantle their government. Just like in the United States, there is a core 50 states who do not agree to dismantle their states. That's why you say, well, you keep your state, but we have a common government. So my first priority would be to have one government for everyone, one person, one vote. But I'm practically understanding that it's not going to happen, so I'm going to the next best step.
Okay, thank you. Gonen, you're next. I'm sorry, we had this back and forth, and now Assad wants to speak, and go ahead, Assad.
Thank you so much. I went back to David also's question, is Hamas or Hezbollah, they need peace? If I want to change the question, like the opposite of the question, is like 20, 25 years, it wasn't Hamas. Before, 25 years ago, it wasn't Hamas. And there is no peace. And it wasn't Hezbollah too. And it was no peace. And I think in our position now, we should, if there is a Hamas or other Israeli, they don't want peace. Our mission, how to make more people from both sides involved to peace. And to do researchers, why those people, they don't want peace. How, I know we are different. We are different, we are like, we have different culture, we have different in many ways, but there is lots of things also they brought us together. And I agree also with you, Joseph, with about the two-state solution. Two-state solution is, I think, is dead now, because there is no two-state solution. If you want to ask me, and I wasn't active in the first Intifada. I was in the jail for 7 years. I was shot by the Israeli army 3 times. And the only solution for us to accept each other as we are and to find solution how to live together. And the Israeli to stop thinking what we're giving to the Palestinian is we're giving as a charity. You are not giving me a charity. We live together in this land. I don't mind if this land it's called Israel, Palestine, Falafel country, or hummus or tabbouleh country. I care. I need to live in a place with dignity, with justice, to equality, to feel I am a human being. Most of my friends, they are Israeli. I'm here. 2 years ago, I was exercising at the gym, and I felt, and suddenly someone, like, he carrying me, and he was Israeli. Just imagine, I felt like in my head like this, go down, and he carried me, and he just, the first day for him, he came to Ohio, and he came to the gym to save me, to save my life.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes,
Beautiful.
Gonel, please.
Yeah. Can I talk?
We hear you.
Yeah. So I think like making peace, trying to make peace when Hamas is in power, it's a little bit problematic. It's just not listening what they say. Like you say that, well, there is interest. Maybe Avi says that there are interests that might be put into that, and they will become flexible when the right point will come. No, but I listen to what they are saying, and it's like expecting, Ben-Gvir to make the peace. Well, they are like Ben-Gvir, the same. They are very religious. They have those beliefs, and yeah, he didn't form a government. He stay outside because he has his values, and they have their values. And I expect Palestinians, as I expect Israelis to put Ben-Gvir out, I expect Palestinians, especially in West Bank, those that want peace, to not to want Hamas to rule, to understand what it means. It means that we're going to delay even more the possibility for peace. And as I understand it, the new generation especially, he prefer Hamas, even though they know, they talk to people in Gaza and they know what it means to be under Hamas ruling, but still they want to vote Hamas in West Bank. So I think this is really a bad step for peace and for this region at all, for Israelis and Palestinians. And this is my idea for the problem with Hamas. I think it will be less and less positive possibility for peace between us if Hamas rule West Bank. And that's what I think. Thank you.
Could you please repeat what you said about Hamas on the West Bank? Because that was my next question. What's going to happen to the country if Hamas takes over in the West Bank?
Had there been democracy and free election, Hamas would rule West Bank now.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah. So actually, Israel interfered in the situation in West Bank, so Hamas wouldn't be ruling there. I don't know what to say. So this is upon Palestinians to decide whether they want Hamas because they hate so much Israel, or because I don't know. For me, in the way I look at them.
Gonen, I want to share my opinion about it. Right now, if you look at the political polls, the same polls that also the Palestinian Authority saw before the elections, and they decided to cancel the elections. There wasn't a majority for Hamas. There was about 40% of the people for Hamas, and about 30% for Abbas, and about 30% for Marwan Barghouti and the other representative of Fatah. So the problem was that the people who are against Hamas were split between three different parties, and therefore, indeed, Hamas would have won the election if there was an election. But my point is that if we are going to empower, what the Palestinian, I would say the majority of the Palestinians, they are not that religion that they want to live in a Sharia law under Hamas. I think that what they see is, on one hand, they see the PA as corrupted and also not getting them any results and not even dignity. On the other hand, they view the Hamas as at least giving them some dignity. I don't think they are giving them any more than dignity, but at least some dignity. And for Palestinians, this is very important, dignity. I think that if we Israelis were smarter and would actually work with Mahmoud Abbas to give him, some cards that he can show success with, for example, removal of settlements, for example, releasing of prisoners, things like that, that would strengthen the PA and Abbas in the West Bank. And if there were election, he would be elected, or his successor would be elected. And that's what I believe. But again, a lot of it is in the hand of Israel. As long as Israel ignores his begging for peace discussions, he's really seen as a loser in his own people's eyes, and only collaborate with Israel on security issues, and really doesn't really helpful for their again objectives. So that's, I think, that's the way I view it.
I agree with you, but this is partly true because most people, they don't believe in him anymore. He doesn't represent all my friends. When I talk to him, I'm talking to many Palestinians from West Bank that are young generation. They don't see him as a person that represents them. They don't. Yes, what Israel does to him is, yes, it's true. It's weakened him, and it's weakened him comparing to Hamas. It's weakened him. But anyway, they tell me, listen, there was no voting for him for 17 years almost. Oh, I don't know how much.
Okay, I understand that. I gave you my opinion why he's seen as such. He's seen as a loser. And
no, but he's corrupted by himself. He's corrupted by himself without Israel.
But don't forget, the Hamas is also very corrupted.
Yes,
they have Mashal in Kuwait lives in palaces and bills of thousands of dollars for massages. So
I tried to explain that, but I'm telling you.
That's not unique. Also in Israel, we have corruption in everywhere. So that's not very unique.
Yes, but then you have to ask yourself.
Okay. Say something about that.
Yes, Assad, we're gonna say we're gonna keep the ping pong here. If you want to speak, you can speak.
Thank you so much. the majority of Palestinians actually in Gaza and in West Bank, they are not supporting Abbas. The majority of the majority, they are not supporting Abbas for many reasons. And I believe also the Israeli policy and the Israeli government, they want Hamas to be strong in Gaza. They want Hamas to have a rocket. There is lots of people, and there is like, it's to make the conflict alive, and it's a business for some people. For me, and it's in my opinion.
Whose people? Whose business for whom?
It's a business like to make the conflict alive, to scare people from each other. Like there is an enemy, to create an enemy, always to create an enemy. Like before Gaza, it wasn't like a rocket in Gaza before. Like in the time of Arafat, it wasn't a rocket. It was like when Oslo agreement. Like I remember, I was so active in the first Intifada. When Arafat starts the Oslo agreement, the majority of the Palestinian, 90% of the Palestinian, they show out and they show to the Israeli tanks, the Israeli jeeping to put that like olive trees and Palestinian flag. They were so happy because people, they were tired. People, they want peace. Majority of the people, they want peace. Yes. But then just imagine, you put me in a cage and you ask me, hey, if you are a good person, I will give you water, I will give you electricity, I will give you, I'm not demolishing your house, I'm gonna move the checkpoint. It's not gonna work, bro. It's this thing, the way we should to work with respect with each others and to build the trust, to create a generation with peace and love, generation to accept each other, to live together. It's not gonna work like that. Hamas, the majority of the people in Mother Earth, they have peace inside them. They are good people. The life, the action of the life, they make them to do something wrong and to do something bad, to kill, to do. I believe the majority of Gaza, they need peace. They need to live with peace with Israel, with anyone in the over the world. Yes. The thing.
Yes, but I agree with you on this, but I don't agree with you on what you said that the Israelis are interested in keeping Hamas strong and keeping this war. Most Israelis suffer from this war, although the Palestinians suffer a lot more, but most Israelis suffer, especially those who live near Gaza, and I disagree with you on that part. Toshu, you're next.
Mori, I want just by your permission to add to what Asad. Hi, how are you? I think what Asad said, it's not all the Israeli want the Hamas to be strong. It's kind of keeping the status quo as it is, because some of you know, I can't tell what it is, but there is military factories.
Hebrew, it's okay.
Military factories. There is a lot of things that come from keeping the status quo. And we don't speak, and I also think Assad don't speak about the Israeli people who suffers from the war, because they are also helpless like all the Palestinians. He speaks, and I also speak, that there is agenda for the leaders in most of the governments here, especially the time that Netanyahu was keeping the status quo as it is, and keeping the problem up and down. So also it keeps also his agenda, his political agenda also the military factories, and also a lot of things, things that Asad said, that there is something, many things that are gained from being the situation in this place. And during these times, it's not by mistake or by chance all the settlements kept to grow on and were more and more wide and more settlements. It's not by chance. It's because keeping the situation as it is and give the Hamas the place and to disturb the peace process. So every time there was disturbing for the peace process, there was another settlement rising in some place. So I don't think it's the yeah.
I agree with you that there is an interest to there.
I would like to express an opinion also.
I will give you just a second. I must respond, but I agree with you that both Bibi and Bennett, they are against a Palestinian state. That I agree with you. I disagree with you that they like a strong Hamas. I think they would prefer a weak Hamas and a Hamas that doesn't send rockets. But
I didn't speak about Bennett. I speak about Netanyahu, 15, 16 years.
Also Netanyahu, I think.
Yeah, Netanyahu he helped them even.
He actually promised his electors that he will get rid of Hamas and will stop Hamas rocket. I think he is interested in that, but he's not able to. And by the way, when it comes to the defense industry, this is why he keeps the Iranian issue alive. So then he can justify submarines and such. Toshu, sorry, you're next.
Yes, I agree that I don't think there's anybody in Israel who wants to keep the Hamas strong at all. I do agree that there are some people who benefit from keeping the status quo, mostly extreme right people. I know a few personally, and the terrorist acts that happen play into their hands. They love it, Look at Ben Gvir. Did you see Ben Gvir, the way he was yelling and screaming at the minister of, in the street? They thrive on Palestinian terrorism. They thrive on it. Every time there's a terrorist attack, it gives them an excuse to say, you see, we're right.
Exactly.
Exactly. And it plays into their hands. And I wish it would, something would stop this vicious cycle, because it's a never-ending cycle. And what you were saying before about Israel, maybe Israel could make concessions and do this and do that. You're completely ignoring the political situation here. Bennett cannot do any of that. It would be political suicide for him. He absolutely cannot do any of the concessions that you mentioned. He cannot start dismantling settlements. He cannot do any of that. He would not be prime minister the next day. It's a very precarious, it's a very weak government, and it's barely.
In any case, he will not be another.
I agree. I want to remind you that Menachem Begin gave up the entire Sinai Peninsula, and he was from the right.
Of course, but he was in power. The Likud was in power. He was in full power. Bennett has seven votes out of 120. You can't compare him to Begin. You cannot compare him to Begin. He's not in the same situation at all. Begin did it from a situation of strength.
Yeah.
Bennett does not have that strength.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
there's a bad example.
I agree. And Rani, you're next. And by the way, I will want to hear from Nabil who is here for the first time, I believe, and also from Rami Aman, who is here back after a long time. So yes, Rani, you're next.
Hello, everybody. First of all, apology for coming late today. And at the same time, allow me just first to express my real sadness regarding the recent wave of anger killing for the innocent people that it has been published. This is absolutely unacceptable for people to happen, I mean, to everybody, because I never justify, I mean, all sorts of killing, terrorism, whatever the name.
Rani, I just want to ask you to introduce yourself, because by your name, people may think you are in Israel.
Yes.
Not everybody here knows who you are.
Okay. So my name is Rani, and I am a resident in the West Bank, city of Hebron. And I am 33-year-old guy living for the moment as an illegal worker in Jerusalem. So, however, I believe in peace, and I consider myself as a peace activist. I have a lot of Israeli friends, either through my work or even in life. But unfortunately, these days, I mean, due to what happened, so we are again also all paying the price. So I'm back home, so of the fear of being arrested again. So, and I volunteered also myself in this group to translate. So today, I mean, I'm not doing this, but inshallah, next time I will do it. So, because I arrived late also. So I just want to express, as I said, my deep, sincere sadness of what happens really during the last 10 days in the country. It's unacceptable, unjustified. I also would like just to say that you probably, as an Israeli audience, have seen also different maybe opinions. Maybe you have an understanding that Palestinians are super happy of what happens, or many Palestinians are just praising the killings, etc. But in reality, you probably don't see the other half of Palestinians, or the big majority, who condemned this incident and absolutely not justifying. For me, I don't accept like I'm driving in a car or walking in a street and to be shot, killed just because I walk here. This is absolutely, I imagined myself walking in any place of where I live in Hebron or in Gush Etzion or even in Jerusalem, and to be killed. So this is absolutely unjustified. So this is just what I would like to share for the moment. And in regard to our topics, I believe that some of you have spoke about the new generation. I think we, the new generation, or the young generation, we should be given a better opportunities and just not to repeat the past. I think we need quality changing in both Israeli society and Palestinian society. We need really an open hands and open arms, like really to accept each other as we are, as who we are, etc. Because I believe if we will continue living the past, and if we will continue living also, accuse each other of who is behind and why and what, so our scenario will continue being more dramatic. That's, I mean, how the situation so far. And also it's just sad. I also realizing that being living also among many Jewish people, like, you don't know much about the Palestinians. So I consider myself in among at least the community of Israelis, so I know that to speak about the Arab cause or the Palestinian cause, because many of you also still ignore, I mean, not you here, but I mean in the Israeli society, of what is the Palestine the cause, what is what it means like to be living also under occupation, what it means also to pay the price. we as Palestinians also until today, we are still paying a higher price. I know also Israelis paying a price, but we Palestinians also, we pay a much, much higher price. Living under occupation does not mean also that we are free. It means also that we lack for a lot of essential rights in life that we are not enjoying. I am not free. I am an example here. Our life as Palestinians are very, very much restricted. Is we live on the social media, we see the world over the social media, but we don't touch it. We really don't touch it. But you Israelis, you have a different lifestyle and you have a different views and you are more power. So you also should, I mean, give and treat the Palestinians differently. Israel treats all Palestinians as just terrorists, and this is not true. This should be also changed. This should be also treated differently. I know that, okay, many people or some people conducted, attacks against Israelis, but this does not mean that all the Palestinians did it. Why I am paying the price today, for example, or many hundreds of people and worker and breadwinners also, they are home just because someone conducted an attack. Is this for you Israelis consider that all Palestinians are terrorists? So for me, this is a big question, honestly speaking, because if this will continue like for each and single incident or two incident or whatever, it will create more hatred and more separations and more walls, etc., etc. We will be in a tough situation tomorrow. I'm really pessimist. I'm sorry to say it, because in every single incident, so we are again repeating. Last year, the wave of anger in May it resulted at months of paying the prices, months of also like staying homes and closure and checkpoints, etc. And now, are we going to repeat the same things? I don't know. I'm expecting like a deep reaction also from Israel, because this is how we used to, this is how we grew up to, and I'm expecting that many people also will continue losing their lives and with no solution, with just conclusion to become to more lose, more drama, more complex to our cause. And at the end, the perspectives of peace will reduce and reduce and reduce. So we need a better education, etc. I don't care about Abbas, or I don't care even about Hamas. I think we all should care of how to really change first ourselves in order to change these idiots people. Sorry to say it in this way, because I agree with someone who speaks also that majority of people, they don't want to, they are disagreeing with the government of Abbas. Yes, sure, we disagree. He is corrupted, and all the entire gang are also corrupted. But also Israel is corrupted, because Israel is allowing also such a figures to be existing. So they are also supporting him, protecting him, give him the access, give him the money, make enter the money to him, and we see nothing. So I'm not justifying that the reaction of the Palestinians people or the young people to react this way, because it's a loss case for them. It's a loss from Israeli side, and it's a loss also from the PA side, and it's a loss also for life. So it's not justification of of terror or of attacks, but we need to see beyond. You need to understand how is the Palestinian life, how the Palestinian young man or the Palestinian people live in reality. This is really serious, guys. Otherwise, we will continue having more and more. And with today media, I am as a someone, I have a lot of friends in my age, is that they grew up now. They are growing up using the technology, looking to the world from the screen, and they just compare their life with the outside world and find themselves in the deep shit. I'm sorry, this is how we are now. So we need some more rights. We need basic rights. It's not an issue of one state or two states. The Palestinian generation today are not talking even about that. You're talking in some place, and the reality is another place, really. You know, because the generation of today talks about rights, talks about perspectives, talks about going outside, going to travel, etc. They are not caring about what Hamas or what Abu Mazen. Yes, there are people who cares. I mean, but it's not really the mentality of today. There is a changing in the Palestinian society, but they don't have the good opportunity. That's my contribution. I will not stay longer, but really, I hope you understand and got mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Rani. Thank you. And I see Joshua, I see Gonen, but I want to say hi first to Nabil. Nabil, are you there?
I wanted to say something to Rani before he leaves.
Rani, can you stay a little longer? Hi, Nabil.
I wanted to express support and agreement.
Okay, if you want to do it in 1 minute, but I want to hear from Nabil and from Rami Aman also.
I just want to say that I agree 100%. And it makes me so sad, and I really don't know what to do. That's it.
Thank you.
Short and
Nabil, hi.
Understand also. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. I'm Nabil. I'm Jordanian. I live in the US right now. I was invited by a friend here. I'm just very curious to listen, but I don't think I have much to to contribute, you know, on here. It's good to see people talking, though. I'm really enjoying listening to everyone's perspectives.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. You're welcome to stay and listen. Hi,
أهلا وسهلا نبيل.
شكرا.
Hi, Rami. How are you? Are you back home or where are you at now?
Hi, Mori. You know, I'm still in Cairo.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm doing fine.
Do you want to share with us anything?
No, I think this kind of operations between Israelis and Palestinians happening since years ago. So why we are surprising about that? It's something happening in the last years. So why in this time we are thinking like, oh, why it's now? No, it's something normal. Peaceful relation between Palestinians and Israelis, we should ask what is happening now. So now the conflict is still continuous, so it's the normal. So I think, yeah, anyone from us, maybe he will be the next victim, Israeli or a Palestinian, he will be the next victim. So if the people will just stay thinking or talking without do anything, he or she will be the next victim. So we need just to continue, create generations, not to speak about one state or two states or confederations. We need the people to understand each other, to respect each other. Then we can help the people to decide if they want to live in one state, two states, 100 states. So
yes,
we need.
Rani, I hear you.
To continue.
I want to tell you, Rani, I'm devoting my life, other than my work and family, I'm devoting my life to try to bring peace. And I agree with you and Assad and Rani that if we can all live here together with no Hamas and no PA and no
Ibn Gvir.
and no Ibn Gvir, and if we could live in that kind of solution, that would be wonderful. This is like a utopia. And even if we can live in Joseph's idea of a confederation, where the people elect their representative, and you can go to Joseph's simulations. It all looks amazing, but really, I think, Rami, if we want to see something, in my lifetime, you are younger, so maybe in your lifetime there's other options, but in my lifetime, if I want to see something, I think it has to come from the political structure. It has to, it has to work within the political structure, because a change to the political structure is something that may take, I don't know, 100 years. I don't know how long. I don't see it happening. I don't see how it could happen.
Are you still believing that? Are you still believe that maybe the Israeli or the Palestinian government have something to do?
So what I think is that current government, current leadership, and current political structure in Israel is really against the Palestinian state. I do think that Mahmoud Abbas is interested in having a two-state solution. I think that the Hamas would actually support that if there was an option like that. So my objective is really to influence.
Yes, sir.
To influence a majority in Israel, because Israel is still a democracy. David, if you can please mute. Okay, I'll mute you. So to influence really the majority in Israel, and to have 60 or 70% of the people basically demanding their government to have peace with Palestinians, and then, we can have discussion with the Palestinian leadership, and then we could actually live here in peace. I think it's possible. Again, it will be, to start with, it will probably be a peace like we have with Jordan and with Egypt, which is not, we don't all love each other. We don't have full relationship. We don't have full commerce, full tourism. Over time, I think that will come as well, because again, more and more people will have less motivation to fight. That's my belief. But I'm willing to listen, Rami, and if you have a vision of how can peace be done otherwise, with no political structure involved, I'd love to hear that.
Yes, I think the current situation showing for us that last year, the Israeli government made a peace agreement with Emirates, Bahrain.
That was an economic agreement, not a peace agreement. Economic agreement.
Okay, but not all of the Israelis believing in that. First of all, the peace should start with the Palestinians. There is no war with the Emiratis. There is no war with the Bahrain. There is no war with the Moroccans. So first of all, the Israeli government, or if I'm Israeli citizen, I want to ask my government, why do you did make peace with the UAE and Bahrain and Morocco and Saudi Arabia and all of this propaganda? And some Israelis think that maybe this kind of peace agreements will both Palestinians. No, there is no peace will happen in Middle East without Palestinians.
I agree. I told it before you came. I said it before you came.
Yeah. I believe in you 100%. You know, Mori, how much I believe in you. But also we need to reflect that over the Israeli citizens. And some of them think that the peace agreements with the Emiratis and with some Arab countries will make the peace easily. No. Where is Emirates now? Where is Bahrain? Where are these countries?
I agree with you. We need to change public opinion in Israel. That's what we are trying to do. And again, what could be helpful if there was a strong voice coming from Palestinians saying we want to live in peace. Just today, I saw a message or announcement from Mahmoud Abbas that he condemned the violence. I think it was a positive one. And again, the more we can hear about it, by the way, I know that some of it is because of Israel, because you know that if, Israel prevent any organization in the West Bank, even if it's a peaceful one, any organization has to get approval from Israel, and typically they just don't get approval. So if you want to have a peaceful protest, okay, many people say, why there is no Martin Luther King in Palestine? and
No. I think this kind of propaganda, it's just wasting of time. All of the Palestinians supporting peace and hoping for peace, but they don't have a chance to speak about that. I think we need to stop.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
For me, I was in Gaza months ago, and I was working for peace, made a lot of video meetings between Israelis and Palestinians. For me, I see an Israeli peace partners, not at the government, in the community.
I
The
know,
people
but
who are
Rami,
not interested in
just you are the only Palestinian from Gaza who can
no.
talking
Who
about
told
peace.
you that? Who told you that? Who told you that?
I don't see any. I don't see any. I think they're all afraid to talk. They're all afraid to talk. I'm sure there are millions of people there that want peace.
Social media, we are talking about more than of 25 millions of Palestinians and Israelis. You cannot make a conclusion from some post on social media. We
No,
are
sorry.
more than 12
Maury,
million
I'm sorry,
Palestinians
Rani.
and
Can I
millions
say
of
something?
Israelis. We are not just talking on social media. People on the ground in Palestine or in Israel also maybe they are not talking on social media. But if you are just review the number of Gazans who are applying for permits there, there are thousands of Palestinians. Why they are go to work in Israel? All of them support peace.
No, can I intervene? Do you allow me?
Sure, Rani, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just Rami, I understand your point of view, but your point of view is not really accurate. I'm sorry for that. Yes, there is a majority of Palestinians who are in favor with peace. That I understand. However, this is not true. Also, that all the Palestinians want peace. No, there are Palestinians who still also want to fight Israel. This is a fact. There are Palestinians.
Okay. It's our mission to change their opinions.
Yes,
it's our mission to change their perspectives.
But we should also say the facts as they are. I live in Hebron, and my life is in Hebron, and in Hebron there are still people who are against Israel, and if they have the opportunity, they want to go and to fight Israel. This is a fact.
You know why, Rani? You know why, Rani?
I do know why, but we should say the facts as they are. We should be also transparent. We should be transparent. This is a fact. I mean, come on. Yesterday, for example, I mean, in some of the cities in the West Bank, in the response also of the killings, there were also people who distributed the halva, how do you say, sweets, just as to represent happiness of what happened. Does this means that they really want peace? I doubt. I'm sorry. This is not true. So this is also to say the fact that there are people who want to fight Israel. They are not the majority, however, they exist. That's to be said.
Rani,
Thank you.
there are many people who are frustrated from their head until their fingers. They are frustrated. They can't believe in any process of peace after this. I don't say that I am happy for that. I'm so sad because of that. And we work a lot of years, Rani. We work a lot of years that we make the situation better. But every day, we heard about the terrorism action in the last week, yeah, and how many people against that, and even one of them was even Palestinian from Israel, but every day there is Palestinian from the West Bank who is killed. Every day there is people who are killed. So I don't think that when a child, today I was with the Spanish musician. She said I can't even say a teenager who sometimes, you know, saw his father being you know, manipulated or being treated very badly, he can act also rationally. And this is the situation we want to give examples, positive examples to these kids, to these, you know, young people who will be the future of us, who will hold us in their arms later to make peace, because they say different situation every day. They see different situation. This is the you know, the thing that sometimes make me even frustrated. Because we, as much as we talk about, you know, all the activists, all the people who want peace, all the people who want to change, yeah, there is situation that we can't make the change. As Rami said, we have to make a change. How many change we can do when children see some bad situation every week, every day, every minute? So what I mean that every you know, every action like what was last week, and every thing that the army do to the Palestinian, you know, if he can enter any time, any place, and kill somebody from his house. So everything like this make the situation worse and worse, and make the situation far away for those kids that I think those are our goal, that we have to work on them. We have to change for them, to give them better examples to change. That's what we want to work on it. We want to change, but we have to give them also the opportunity to see that there are the other side who are condemning. For example, when somebody is killed in the West Bank, they don't hear about that. They don't hear about any person who killed in the West Bank by the army from any person in Israel. I don't see that. I don't say that Israeli, all my friends, they speak about, they don't like that, they don't want that, they condemn that. But how the Palestinian kids or young people, or, you know, who are potential future leaders for us, see that? They don't see that. The media don't let them see the, you know, the beautiful face of all Israeli. So when you, Rani, said that there are people don't want peace, it's not because they don't want peace, because they have, this is the black glasses that they had on their faces. Unfortunately, this is the situation that we have to change.
Dr. Varda, I totally agree. Your opinion is absolutely also my voice. However, when I said, I mean about the facts on the ground. I personally, as Rani, when I talk to my friends or the community or the people who I know about the dialogue with Israel, about the peace with Israel, about etc. with Israel, many or some people, okay, that I talk to, they consider this is like the impossible idea. So this is I'm saying a fact also, and you said an analysis, which is a true analysis. I understand your point, because your point is also my voice, trust me. However, I'm talking about the fact that when I am talking to people in Bethlehem or in Hebron or in the refugee camps or in whatever, or when sometimes also we hear like whenever there is, let's say someone killed, or if you are in a protest or in a demonstration or in a sit-in, you hear people who want to fight Israel, fight the political state of Israel. Yes, so this is what I meant. It's not really against the peace, but for the resistance. And I think you also understand what I mean by the resistance, because people also still talking about this. So this is my point of view. Thanks.
Yes, Ronnie, thank you. Guys, sorry for cutting. Tusho, I see you, and I will let you also say something. But We have to finish, at least I have to finish, unless Warda, you want to keep the discussion open, I have to go to stay. So I want to say that as I say always in my comments in the Facebook, you know, it's not a fight between Israelis and Palestinians. It's a fight between the extremists on both sides and the peaceful people on both sides. And we are the peaceful people. And I think our job is to motivate others to be heard, because unfortunately, the extremists are also the loudest. And everybody hear them, everybody see them. Again, you shoot one person goes and shoot 5 people, he makes everybody think that all Palestinians are like that, or a lot of them are like that, and also on the Israeli side and the settler side, etc. So the peaceful people are the majority, but they are too silent and too depressed. And our job, I think, is to activate them and motivate them to be heard, to be active, and to make a political change. And Tushu, you are welcome to say your comment, and then I think we will have.
Okay, I'll wave it.
Tushu, you want to comment?
It's not that important. I wanted to thank Ani for looking truth in the face. And I wanted to tell Varda that just because there's a reason for it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist, or that we're gonna not look it in the face, because if we don't look it in the face on both sides, we're never gonna be able to change it. And I was at the hairdresser today, and there was this young girl who was afraid to go out. So she was afraid, she was losing her hair, she was in such stress. So does that mean it's okay for her to now take her father's gun and go shoot? No, no. Even if she has a good reason, it's still not right. So please,
Tushu Habibti, I didn't mean that we don't look at my disagreement with what Rani stated, that they are there because they are there. It's not they are there because they don't want peace, or they don't because they don't see anything else. And here are our
and they don't
goal
want peace
in this
because
group
they don't see,
is,
but they still don't want peace because they don't see.
Look, there is the difference. They don't have a choice to choose. If they have, you want peace or you don't want peace, there is peace or there is no peace, and they choose no peace, I agree with you. But because they don't have the other
there are
side,
people here who are from Gaza, who are from the West Bank, who choose peace.
Believe me,
So
there were people who part of their family worker by the army, or you know, the Mishpachot Eshkolot, a lot of people, and they changed, and they even now, for example, Ali, who was last week, he worked a lot on the young people to change their way of thinking about peace, about everything. So you know, it's not about they have a choice to choose between, it's because they have no other choice to choose. And because of that, I say this is our goal here, our goal to let them see you, to let them see Avi, to let them see Mori, to let them see everybody in this place, to see Zohar also, who works a lot for peace. So, and Montana, who encourage, and Sari also. So we have every voice of us is very important to show the Palestinians who are frustrated, who think that there is only no peace, the only war. We want to show them there is another way. Rami worked a lot for those people, and there is Ali, who was last week, and there is a lot of people who work inside Gaza and inside the West Bank. And I live in the West Bank, and I saw people in the West Bank. And because I'm activist, I talk with the people. I talk and I listen to the people. Those Rani, for example, sometimes he, as you say, he afraid also to show his face. Because he can be, I don't know, can be threatened or something. But I, for example, I can't.
By DF or by Hamas or by both?
I don't know. He has his own reasons. Yeah, he has his own reasons. Assad, for example. Where you live, Assad? I wasn't in the beginning.
I would love to say something. And what's the problem if there is a Palestinian fighting? What's the problem with that? Like, you put me in cage. You don't give me any options.
I don't give you anywhere. I don't put you anywhere.
Like, I'm a Palestinian. I was fighting.
There's a conflict.
I was fighting. I was in the jail for 7 years. I've been shot by the Israeli army 3 times.
For what reason were you
for
in the
what
army?
reason? I was against the occupation.
Okay.
I tell you something.
How did the occupation happen? There was no occupation before 67. There was no occupation. Before 67, there was no occupation. Do we agree on that?
So we will not go back to the history because the history is very bloody. The history is very bloody. We don't want to go to that place.
What do you mean? Just a minute. What do you mean 67? There is no occupation.
The West Bank and Gaza weren't occupied by Israel,
in
right?
Gaza there is no occupation, but in Gaza there is a cage. Just they are in a cage and not allowed for them.
But there wasn't.
Do you know there is no water in Gaza? Israel they take all the water from Gaza and they transform the water to the Negev and to the borders, to the settlements and the borders. Do you know there is no water in Gaza?
If there was peace, it wouldn't exist, right?
Do you know the children who die from sickness in Gaza more than the children who die in the war?
I know the situation in Gaza is horrible.
How you want
negotiate peace? Negotiate peace. Terrorism is not going to solve it. Negotiate peace, and you can have your own sovereign country, and that's it. Why is that not a possibility?
Negotiation, the problem is the leader who doesn't.
Why is that not a possibility?
My friend, I will tell you something.
Explain to me why that's not a possibility.
My friend, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Like, if any Israeli get killed, first of all, I don't support any killing anywhere in the Mother Earth.
Neither do I. Anywhere. Not in Gaza, not in Israel, nowhere.
But look to our situation. If a Palestinian kills Israeli, any citizen or a soldier or an army, anything, any kind, in the eye of the Israeli, it's a terrorist. But if Israeli kill Palestinian, it's not a terrorist.
What would improve the situation in Gaza? The one thing that would improve completely, change it, 180 degrees.
Yalla, abracadabra, change it.
Peace.
To change education, first of all,
terrorism change? Does terrorism change it? Does it change it? No. It doesn't change it. It doesn't.
We could change when you start as Israeli to think you are not giving me a charity. I'm the soul of this land. I'm the salt of this land. I born there. My father, my grandfather, all my families, they are born there. You are not giving me a charity to accept me. Like you are like that.
I do.
Just a minute. Let me finish.
Right.
You are like that. The one who take my house and he give me give me a room in the house, and he fight me and he fight for this room to push me out. And like you put like and you ask me and you have the military, you have the gun, you have the weapons, you control my water, you control my electricity, you control my breath, you control my the whole my life, and you ask me about peace.
I've been asking
need-
about peace for 70 years.
My
In
brother,
those 70 years, Israel got
friend,
stronger. You're right.
I need peace like you.
But 70 years ago, Israel was not strong.
Who killed the peace process? It's not Israel. It's not Palestinian.
Oslo,
He was
the
Israeli
terrorism.
who killed
terrorism.
Rabin. Who killed
I was
Rabin?
here. But even before Rabin was killed, I was here.
Okay.
There was such an incredible wave of terrorism here. People were being killed every day.
Okay.
Every day.
Yeah, but
I
especially when the peace
week is
almost
nothing
gone,
there.
we gained the peace, and there was really a hope for peace 25, 26 years ago. Yeah, almost we got that process because it was another spirit. It was another hope in both people. And who killed that? Only you have to admit that also. Who killed the peace was Israeli terrorist who killed Rabin. Because if Rabin wasn't killed, I think that the peace was in another situation now. Anyway,
I have a question. Do you think if there is no Hamas will be peace?
I don't care about Hamas. I'll make peace with Hamas.
My question,
I'll make peace with anyone who's willing to make peace with me. Anyone.
My friend,
I don't care who it is.
I agree with you.
Bravo.
Me and you, we should work together to make more people involved for peace from both sides. I agree with you.
We want millions like you.
Yeah, me and you, we are in same path. We are in same side. The thing
I know. I post things on Facebook and I get attacked by people who know me, who blame me because I support being tolerant, and this is why we have terrorism. You know, I know there are crazy people on our side too. I'm not putting all the blame on Palestinians. Absolutely not. There are people in Israel who don't want peace. They're a minority, but they exist, and they make
as an Israeli,
as minorities, they make a lot of noise.
I advise you, and just for a month, I'm not in Gaza, but I could offer a house for you in a Gaza, and go take the Palestinian shoes.
I have friends. I have friends who live in Gaza who wanted to invite me to their son's wedding.
It's not gonna help. Go live the life.
Guarantee my safety, so I can't go.
Live the Palestinian life for just 1 month.
But I can't. I cannot enter Gaza, even if I wanted to. I cannot.
Even in West Bank, I have in my town. I have a house. Go to my house. You will find the key in the front of the door. It's open for everyone. It's called, I'm part of thing, it's called couching around the world. It's open for everyone. You could go there and stay however you want in my house and just see the Palestinian life. In my house, every 18 days, the water came to my house 1 day.
It's also in my house in Beit Jala.
I need to explain something. I do not make little of the hardness or the hardship of life in Gaza and in the West Bank. I would not want to switch places with you. I would not. I'm being honest. I tell you the truth. I think that life in the West Bank and in Gaza is horrible. And yes, Israel is to blame for part of it, but I cannot convince people here that that could be changed because they're convinced that terrorism cannot be stopped. And until there's peace, it won't change. So let's make peace already so that we can change it.
So
There's
let's
no
work,
other
let's
way.
work to convince the leaders to make peace, because the simple people will be convinced in the same time that they saw the leaders making peace. Because, you know, as I told you, these people who are frustrated from the situation, nobody give them other choices. They have only that choice that you are under occupation, you are under bad situation. When we give them the other hope, the other picture,
Yeah, but
they will change.
I understand.
The same
I
thing,
understand
the same way that the other change, like Ali last week, and a lot of people who were also in that place, and they changed their opinion about making peace.
But I think as much as I'm pushing my government to make peace, and I do. I write letters all the time, and I speak.
So come to our initiative, Million Letters for Peace. I need you.
Okay, I will definitely.
cannot change
But
the
I think,
government,
but I
but we
think
can change
Palestinians need to do
ourselves.
the same thing. You need to push your government also. I mean, your leaders to go towards that.
You know about the interaction, interaction committee. All what they do, they communicating the Israeli people and telling them we want peace. And who put this committee? Who who make, how to say that? Okay, who make this committee? It's, you know, Abbas 2003. Who said that I want this committee to work on the to let the Israeli people believe that we want peace, but without, you know, steps on that. I believe, really, I believe that the PA want peace, but sometimes there is frustration. You know, the three soldiers, they were killed 2 months ago. They are Fatah, and they are two of them are you know, from the police, you know, the police who make service to the Palestinian territory. It's not that they are against Israel or against the army or making something. They are, you know, working to make part of it also hati'um, you know, between Israel and the Palestinian, and they were killed. And when I talked also to people in Ramallah about that, they said they are our people. Why they killed? I tell them, why Abu Mazen don't go to the TV and say why you killed our 3 soldiers or our 3 policemen who serve you, who serve Israel also. And this is the situation, you know. It's sometimes you can't understand what is going on with the army and what they are thinking about when they do that. Maybe the Shabak has something else, but you know, the Shabak lately have a lot of mistakes. And you know what is going also with the settlements and settlers, those who are also backed up by the soldiers. Part of the soldiers, I can say most, because I meet also soldiers, and I go everywhere to talk to people who are really, there are soldiers also who are frustrated from the situation. They don't want to be there. They said, why should I go there to protect people that I don't believe that they need me, they had the right that I protect them. So there is a situation, and what we need is to make a lot of effort to change it. Now about the letters, and we are next week maybe I'll speak about we are working about this initiative about more than 2 months. It's called Million Letters for Peace. That we have groups. Every group has its job. First example, one job is to write the letters. So we have you know, a frame of the letters, but everyone can change a little in his letter that he sent. and there is a group who find the leaders that we want to send them these letters. Not in this letter, what we call these leaders to make, please send these letters to Bennett, to Abu Mazen, to Sisi, to Biden, to everyone who can affect the peace process. And these letters, we will put them in the Facebook, and we want these people who send these letters to that people. And if they send back a letter or to Bennett and to other leaders, we put them also on that page. So we will have 1 million letters. And not only, you know, the people, it's also between Palestinian school and Israeli school. We want Israeli students and Israeli Palestinian students wrote to each other. And these letters also will be also, even sometimes if we don't if we take the name out for some reasons, we want to put these letters in that page until we have million letters. So come with us, Tisho, and maybe you will be also part of that committee who also make the frames of these letters, because not only politicians, it's ecology, it's women who women leaders, it's human rights leaders, it's in any place that the war and the situation affected worse, affected badly. That's what we are doing. Okay. So thank you very much for being here, and Asad, nice to meet you, and Tosho also new here, and who else new, and Sarit, thanks for being here. Zohar didn't speak today. Vasily, nice to see you every week here also. And Rami, thank you. Come again, Rami.
شكرا لكم تحياتي.
شكرا لكم جميعا ومروان طبعا.
Warda, I just want to add something.
رامي.
ايش قلت رامي؟
I just want to add something. I'm working with some Israeli media, newspapers and channels. 2 days ago, I suggested for one Israeli media a story about some Gazans condemn this kind of operations. The Israeli media, without mentioning the name, they said that no, we are not interested in this story. So sometimes the Israeli media want the Israeli people to see just a little part from this picture. Don't push me on the corner and ask me about peace. Give me my freedom, and then I will give you my peace. So don't trust on just 2 or 3 pictures distributed from Gaza about 3 or 4 people. You will not find a picture for the man who paid the money for the sweets. You will just find some picture for the people, normal people walking in the streets.
Exactly.
2 or 3 or 4. That doesn't mean to 12 million Palestinians. No. And I can give you a list of 100 of Palestinians. They are really now, they are interesting to speak with the Israelis. But as Warda said, about last May and last in 2014, 2009, 2012, the Israeli army killed more than 5,000 Palestinians and injured more than of 20,000 of Palestinians. And you ask them about peace? No. We Palestinians responsible about our community. And you as Israeli, you are responsible about your community. Then we can meet in the future. Don't trust on the media. The Israeli media want the Israeli citizen to see a specific picture, because the Israeli government using some Israelis as a votes machine. That, hey, Hamas, Ghost, we will give you security, we will give you everything, vote for us, vote for us. No, it's something, it's something, of course, unbelievable. Don't trust on social media. Go to the street, speak with the people, and you will find that the majority of the people believing in peace, but they have nothing to do. Last war, I'm living in the downtown of Gaza City, near the building of Al Jala and Al Jazeera building. All of these buildings attacking near my home. My home already targeting by the Israeli army, the Israeli government, and also you can ask Ali Abu Awad how many the Israeli government rejected his permit, and he's a peace activist, and he's a public figure in that. So I think if Ali Abu Awad a permit, why? He's a peace activist. He's a public figure in that. He's one from my idol. So I think Israelis and Palestinians, everyone should be responsible in his community. Don't blame me, and I will not blame you. Just go to your community and tell them to stop killing the Palestinians. We are not just that animals or anybody's. No. We are human than you. We condemn any killing for anyone, a Christian, Jew, Muslim, non-religious, all of the Gazans. I dare you to give me a name for a Gazan killed an Israeli in Tel Aviv or in Jerusalem in the last years. You will not find any name. No, all of that operations which happened in
There
Jerusalem.
were missiles falling over my head.
Something bad happened
at that
to
time.
them.
Okay, thank you, Rami. We will not go to the end of this dialogue. Sari, please give me your email in my WhatsApp number. I will join you to the group, yeah? And nice to see you, Vasily.
Nice to see everyone. If I can I just want to say, listening to stories like Assad, it's really, really inspiring for me. Last week, we had the discussion about using peace for protest. And Assad is someone who epitomizes that, to sit in prison, fighting for a just cause, and to be in prison for 7 years, to be shot at 3 times, and to come and have the attitude that he has in not having hate and being so peaceful in, striving for justice is extremely inspiring. I think it's a really important message as an ambassador to be able to be a voice for the people. And then, and Toshu, I just do want to say that I really do admire and understand, being someone who has to, within your community, have an alternative perspective is definitely not easy. But the thing is, I don't know, and I know that many Israelis also live in fear, but when someone like Assad speaks and says that he spent 7 years of his life, 7 years of his life in prison, fighting for a just cause, he's been shot 3 times. I mean, it's like to stop and just think about this for a second, but to conclude, what I do want to say is, and I would love to do that at any point in time, if I can come and stay in Gaza, and it's not about me, but I mean, for Israelis, I think, I see this message continuously in the discussions, the disconnect about the reality and the perception that people have of one another. This is what we need to change. And any initiatives through which Israelis can go, and if we can enable safe routes that people can go across to the other side to spend a day, a weekend, you can start with a day, Assad, a month will be amazing, but a day just to meet other people as we're doing here, but to meet people in person, it can have really the systemic change that's required.
I agree.
So anyway, but thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you. So thank you very much for being here. I hope we will continue and continue find out how to get our goals and continue struggling for peace, fighting for peace. Thank you. Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Sari, could you please send me? I send. Okay, thank you very much, Sari. Thank you. باي أسعد، يعطيك العافية، انبسطت إني شفتك. مروان ما سمعناك اليوم. Okay, good night, Sari and Zohar also.